Okay, I made this video and it got a copyright strike, then immediately deleted by YouTube for having closed beta gameplay footage from Heartland. And I was confused because before I upload a video, there's a process that it goes through to verify whether there's copyright footage in that video or not. So you can determine whether or not you want to upload it, because if you do upload it with copyright footage, it's not monetized and you don't get paid for it. So I would never willingly upload a video that I know it's copyright. So I figured it was safe. Well, looks like I learned my lesson, because I thought that since Heartland was canceled, that footage didn't matter. Simply that the development team from Heartland themselves sent this request in, and it was just not on their radar when I initially uploaded the video. And I think the reason is being that even though the game may have been canceled, I signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, meaning that the language technically still stands. So now that I know, I'm never going to go anywhere near any of this again, so I'm going to be a lot more careful going forward. But this is strange to me, because could this mean that Heartland really isn't canceled? Or is it simply a technicality of the NDA language being enforced? I'll leave that up to you to decide in the comment section below. And if you haven't seen that video, here it is. And if I haven't re-uploaded it by now, it will be without the Heartland footage. Not doing that again. But let's shift this conversation a little bit, because there's something I'd like to discuss about a comment someone made in that video. This comment helped me realize a few things. It pulled on my heartstrings a little bit. And this was one of the few comments I've seen like this. Most people are more gloom and doom and gloom and like to stay into this negative perception of things. I could be guilty of it sometimes, but let me just read out what he says. I just had to come and comment on this video in particular. It's just crazy that you can criticize these poor devs for not being enthusiastic. And did you consider the fact that it might be because they could be losing their job any day now? I mean, did you think about that fact when you made it? I don't like the state of things in the game either, but I've been aware the devs that were left were working with limited resources, I'm sure. Cut them a break. He's right in a sense, although I still stand behind what I said overall in that video. I don't believe I was overcritical, because I believe that the developers can affect change that is within their power. See, this is the change that I'm talking about. There are certain things that are within the boundaries of a creative director like 𝐒𝐻. In a game like The Division 2, this typically involves overseeing the overall vision, direction, and creative decisions for the game. And while a creative director can propose new modes, expansions, or significant changes to the game, they usually don't have the sole authority to greenlight such projects. Decisions like this, like introducing a new game mode akin to Heartland or adding a substantial expansion, require approval from the higher ups and the higher levels of the community, including executive producers, project leads, and potentially even corporate leadership, which is why at this point I believe I have been a little bit hard on them in that sense. I mean, I get it now, and I know it's really because I let my disappointment get the best of me. So certain things are spoken out of anger, you know, just how much I used to love the game and just love the concept in general. Also how I just know how much potential the Division franchise has. I mean, you feel me? Don't forget the history I have with this game, going all the way back to when the state of the games were something to look forward to, when Hamish was in the building talking about what was coming, and how it felt to make a build pre-Warlords. It was actually the closest feeling to build making from the Division 1. But as time passed, the Division 2 has primarily seen new weapons and minor updates. Lately, it suggests that the development team may have limited resources or priorities that don't allow for significant expansions. And this is where I like to address where the commenter says, how can I criticize these poor devs? Well, as I said in this video, criticism is crucial for change. And even though the creative direction does have limited resources, their job is to be creative within that realm as the best as they can. Let me elaborate. Morten Ryberg, a previous Ubisoft employee, said once that it requires an incredible amount of resources to add new areas and map expansions, and players don't realize how much really. But to speak on that, there are plenty of ways to be creative without doing map expansions or adding new areas. Why not repurpose Kinley College, for example, and make that some sort of PvPvE zone like Last Stand from the Division 1. Nothing has been done with Kinley College for years, and it won't require new resources, just repurposed assets that are already in the game. And did you know that Last Stand in Division 1 was an 8v8 PvPvE mode that utilized things that were already in that game, like sections of the Dark Zone, were maps for Last Stand. It was a genius idea, and we had a blast. Wait, hold on, okay. I'm just thinking about this right now as I'm talking. And here I go again, ranting on without realizing what's actually happening. I just thought about this, man. Red Storm were the ones in charge of PvP. And with them being gone, something like Last Stand is pretty much an afterthought. Unless, like I said before, Heartland is still in development. But that's highly unlikely. Because I remember this article that states where Red Storm's focus went after Heartland's cancellation. The Division Heartland has been canceled. Ubisoft decided this after careful consideration, and developer Red Storm would transition to XDefiant and Rainbow Six. After the Division Heartland was officially canceled earlier this year, Red Storm Entertainment, the studio behind it, shifted its focus to other Ubisoft projects. They've been working on supporting XDefiant, a free-to-play first-person arena shooter, as well as the Rainbow Six franchise. These projects were prioritized by Ubisoft as a part of a larger effort to redeploy resources to more promising opportunities after several cancellations across their portfolio. Now, this explains why they never came back, effectively making Division 2 even more hopeless. That article was back in May of this year, and during this time, Red Storm had been impacted by company-wide layoffs, while some team members were being reassigned to other studios within Ubisoft. Well, fast forward to now, XDefiant pretty much failed, and the executive producer of Rainbow Six Siege left that company. So I could see why Yannick and Daria may have been looking unmotivated. The commenter made a great point about their enthusiasm being akin to the possibility of them losing their jobs. It's already happening, so this could be in the back of their minds. But wow, man, the more I discuss this and just think about it, the more I realize how much can't happen in terms of progress. They're handicapped from so many different angles. Yannick said it himself in that live stream, that he wished he had 5,000 people working on the game and give it everything we want, but he can't, and that they're limited. Well, it's definitely showing, and the purpose of this video is to let you know that I recognize that fact. I may have been too hard on them. I mean, it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about things that you can't change. So no point in beating a dead horse trying to promote change where it is almost impossible to affect. But real talk, I've never seen a division like this. And I'm not going to mention any names, but I've spoken to a few other YouTubers that used to consistently cover this game, and if you go to their channels, you'll see that they haven't uploaded Division content in months. That's telling, and it's just how people feel. But it's also okay. Great things come to an end eventually, and if they do not recover from this situation, then at the end of it all, we've had an unbelievable run. So I do want to say that I appreciate what the devs have done within their power. I mean, the way that people talk about how upset they are with the developers and whatnot, it would be a different conversation, definitely a different story if the resources were there for them to change things, actually add maps and whatnot, and they chose to ignore making significant changes to make the game better. But that's simply not the case, and I see that now. Anyways, I know this was a multifaceted discussion, but I just wanted to let you know about the drama that's been ensuing in my situation along with Ubisoft, in case you didn't really know what was really happening. I want to let people know what's really happening, because I've been a little bit hard on them. I still love making builds, right? I still love the idea. It's still cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still get a rise out of doing that stuff. So out of respect for the people who've subscribed to me for the Division 2 content and my builds and whatnot, I'm not going to leave them high and dry. Whenever the new update comes out, I'm going to drop those builds that I made in the PTS and see what I can do with the 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐸𝐵, even though it's been nerfed. See what I could do with these other builds. I mean, I'm an advocate of rifle builds. Like, those are my favorite types of weapons, and it would be a crime to give up on the Urban Legend finale. If you're not aware of what the Urban Legend is, look up Identity Division 2 Urban Legend and you'll see that series on there. The first one is the most epic, by the way. But I want to hear from you. Do you think they just gave up? Or is it not their fault entirely? That they're just cogs in the ultimate machine? Finally, if you liked this conversation, if you found it insightful in any way, like the video. Also, don't hesitate to subscribe for more videos like this. I'll see you in the next one. Be right out.